Here.
Hey, you're Ben Woznicki of Highland Software?
Yep, I think you're Tom Cagley from Tom Cagley and Associates.
Absolutely. And we're here to talk about big A or little a Agile.
Oh, yes. All right. So what's this big A thing?
So we are facing a scenario where everything is branded, everything is commercialized, everything is ring-fenced, big A Agile. So my brand of Agile is better than your brand of Agile. PMI recently bought Flex. They bought Disciplined Agile Development. They have the ACP. They have created, in their minds, right, different brands. And I'm not picking on them because everyone else has been at this branding stuff for a long time. Agile, in my estimation, is little a Agile. It's all about the principles and the values in the Agile Manifesto.
Yeah. Now, there's still some useful things about.
I didn't say they were evil. I didn't say that they were the wrong thing. I agree with you, Ben.
Yeah.
There are great things and important things to learn from these ring-fenced methodologies.
Now I have a new word to go along with it. Yes. I think one of so in my time out on the field, I've noticed that clients get pretty frustrated and they're looking for leadership. They know they're trying to do something that they haven't done before. They don't know what they're doing. And they encounter scenarios that either aren't really spelled out how to address within these frameworks, or they're just kind of getting a little crushed under the weight of the framework.
Point taken. I'm rereading Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman right now.
Right.
And one of the things that they talk about, I think it's chapter like 32, is that anytime we step outside of what's norm is that there's a lot of fear of regret. Therefore, having something like a method that is spelled out and people say works,
Right.
that gives us confidence that we won't regret stepping away from the status quo.
There you go. So there's some dependability that they get out of the big A, but it kind of plateaus.
Yeah. I think it also, the word we have here is atrophy, and again, if we think of Agile as dynamic and learning and expecting and adapting,
Sure.
how can we just say, here's the set of methods, here's the framework, and it has to work that way?
It's kind of opposed to the philosophy in the first place.
Does seem that way, yeah. Does seem that way.
The brittleness is definitely frustrating for a lot of folks.
But there are pluses, right? There are pluses to big A Agile.
Yeah, I'm able to come into an organization. We're able to identify a common set of language and mental models where we can actually jump in and start to implement some pretty substantial changes that would be harder to do if we were just bubbling it up.
Absolutely. And the common mental models, common vocabulary, I mean, those are valuable things.
Right. Yep. It's just not the be-all, end-all, right?
I hope not. So many people, especially when they're using this branded Agile, have a propensity to just big bang it, right?
Right.
It's like, we're all going to do Scrum. Sure. We're all going to do Safe. We're all going to do DAD.
And you kind of have to.
In a lot of cases, perhaps maybe you do. But does that anticipate and does that deal with some of the context that people actually have to deal with?
Yeah, I don't know that it's possible for it to really deal with those contexts. Like, we can suppose here's some set of possible scenarios that folks might be experiencing, as they're trying to use the framework. But I mean, I think that's why this is a set of principles.
You're absolutely right, and I think that the idea of that sort of that common adoption patterns. I mean, the branded, commercialized methods, I think, help us with that, right? They present some of that stuff, but again, it then becomes more of an issue. How do we then adapt?
Yeah.
So what's what is it? What's little a agile?
I mean, I think, all right. So when I've gone into organizations, I've seen there's two different almost organisms happening. One is at the team level, where things tended to be more organic and, I need to get this done. I have this problem. I want to solve this problem. So pretty actionable. And then at the top, I've seen a lot of kind of hands off. Like, yep, we want the developers to go fix the team. We want them to make the change that, to be honest with you, is way outside of their span of control. And if the individuals at the team are making the scale of changes that need to happen for the organization to make the shift, you'd have some pretty serious dysfunction, I think, because that's just out of sync with where those individuals should be playing in the organization. So from a sustained transformation kind of perspective, I think you need it at both levels, right? What do you see?
So having a framework, I think, is important. I agree with you there. But reflecting and thinking that Agile is that it's almost a religion in its own right, I think breaks the pattern that you're espousing. With the team level has to be able to read their context and adapt so that they deliver value, and they deliver it in an effective and efficient way. I mean, I think we forget that sooner or later the business cycle is going to be such where it's going to be hard to get money, and it's going to be hard to get resources and people. So all of those things are going to get hard. We're going to have to also deal with efficiency at the same time.
I think that's fair, and I think that's something we're not very good at.
That's why having one way of doing things, I think, becomes very difficult and very problematic.
Gotcha. So what are some of the challenges to that you face when you do one way, right?
There is that one way, right? I think you have to stop and just step back and recognize that there are other points of view, and that there are other. If we look at all of this as just a big box of Lego, I can build a house with those eight bricks, or I can build them with a whole bunch of 2s.
That's probably fair. So keeping that autonomy at the team level.
I think experimentation's a big deal too.
Yeah, gotcha.
So how about structure? What happens when people just think they can just do whatever they want, anytime they want, and
we're Agile now. We don't do any of that.
Yeah. God, how many times have you heard that?
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time. So I think being as empirical as possible, I think that is helpful. It gives you a grounding in reality, but that does mean the teams need to take time to inspect and adapt, and programs need to take time to inspect and adapt, and have some of those really hard conversations around, here's what's actually working, here's the stuff that didn't work, and be willing to face, hey, there's time that we just threw away. Okay, this is part of our overall growth cycle, though.
Assuming they do learn, right?
Yeah, that's true. You have to actually incorporate those changes and act on them in the next cycle.
And evaluate those changes based on the principles in the Agile Manifesto.
Are we getting the results?
Are we getting results? And can we take those principles and do whatever we're doing? Does it actually support those?
Yeah. So what about the gatekeeper syndrome?
it is. I don't know about you, but I've run into organizations where the answer is there is a group, a center of excellence that will tell you exactly how you're supposed to do your work.
That's the hot word, is center of excellence.
And you're not allowed to, teams aren't allowed to actually step back and say, you know what, we're going to do TDD from now on. You know what, we're going to use this new method of testing kind of thing. Those are things that are blocked. I think we have to empower teams. Yeah. No, that's fair. I'm thinking about organizations that I've been in where it felt like they had there was an immunity to innovation. There was like a creativity shield. Oh my gosh.
We're going to keep everything nice and safe and the same it was, which is opposed to, if they want change, you're going to have to actually change some things.
Absolutely.
All right. So,
Ben, I think this is a hard conversation.
It is.
I mean, we've used some explicitly provocative terms here. How do we, if people want to continue the conversation, how do they go about doing that?
There's a bunch of ways. I think the YouTube comments, that's a good way to go. You can use the Agile Religion tag for today's comment. You can post that anywhere. So if you have other hosting platforms, that's cool. Just make sure we know about it. So you can hit us up. My Twitter is @BenWaz.
@TCagley.
Right. And then we've got email. So I'm Ben@benwaz.com.
TCagley @TomCagley.com.
Yeah, so we'd like to hear response to this video. If there's other topics that folks are interested in as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's hear about that, and we'll do our best to support the community.
Cheers.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks, guys.